Hello. Nice to see you, nice. I hope you're all having a nice day, whether it be morning time or evening time. I've got to put on my microphone. Welcome. So if this is the first time you've been on Livestream, then I'm just going to quickly tell you how it works. You ask me a question through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12, that's my Skype address, and just send me a friend's request. And you can either write me a question or you can call in. And if you want to be anonymous, then you can just change your name in the settings. I think you have to log into your settings and change your name, and then it's anonymous. I do these talks every Wednesday and Sunday at 6 p.m. French time, but please always check my website because I do regularly have to cancel, or I'm traveling or busy and I can't do it. So yeah, check the website first under the live stream. You can find it in the box below. Yes, and remember to put a thumbs up to like the video if you want the videos to be shared and to continue on. Yeah, that is all. I always like to start the talk sitting in silence, which I find really beautiful. So just like 5-10 minutes of sitting in silence. And the talk today is, does law of attraction affect politics? It is unknown. But we're going to have a good old discussion about it. 5-10 minutes. So I was just checking that it was working, the link. Yeah. Good girl. Good girl. Did you enjoy your din din? Did you? Yeah, give Mama a kiss. Kiss. Yeah. What a good girl. Yeah, 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 yes, you are. Hello. Okay, let's start talking. So today I thought I would talk about law of attraction and politics. But first of all, I want to just clarify the importance of non-duality in all of this. So this is my interpretation of how things work in the human form. So there is source, there is something called source, not like ketchup or mayonnaise, but source is in everything, the big source. And that's the creator of this life. And the source, and it's here right now experiencing life, and it has no judgment on life. It has no opinion on life. It has no perspective of I want this or I want that. It's totally innocent. It's just creating spontaneously for no reason. And it's free. It's endless. It's not even endless. It's not a thing, so it's not even finite or infinite. It doesn't belong in those polarities. It is everything. It's all things. It's beyond our ability to describe. And most people spend their whole life looking for this, looking for non-duality, but they're not conscious of it. To them, they think what they're looking for is more money, a better job, nicer children, more children, better husband, better wife, more holidays. They think that they're looking for things in time, and the mind is always obsessing about what's happening to them in time, what's causing them pain and what's causing them pleasure. And the mind, after time of fixation on trying to obtain pleasure, the mind just goes a bit crazy. It is overstimulated and thinks too much in opposites. There's and just thinking all the time, searching. And that's what in non-duality we call suffering, that searching energy, that identification with the body, and then the belief that freedom, what you're looking for, is in time, whereas actually what you're looking for is right here, right now. Right here, right now. And that's free. And that's non-duality. And this source, so the creator is creating all of this. And it creates these body minds to look through. So at the moment there is the source, not a thing, creating this body mind to look through and experience the world. Which is beautiful. And then what happens is, in order for this body to move, it sets up with particular programming. So if you imagine it like a computer program, like programming in a character. And the way that we are programmed as humans is to move towards pleasure and to move towards pain. And we have this sensory system where we can hear, feel, touch, taste, and see and think about things. So you have like, depending on if you're spiritual or not, 5, 6 or 7 senses. So we have these senses, and we also have these emotions in our body. So these emotions and these sensations. So say when we come in contact with someone that is screaming or shouting, then we'll have an emotion or a particular response. If we see something ill on the side of the road, our body has a particular emotional response. If we see a beautiful sunset, our body has a particular response. If we see a couple making, or not making love, but like kissing, then we'll have a particular response. And if we ever see them making love, we have a particular emotional, like bodily experience. And to me, the way that the bodily experience happens is through the chakras. So If we see two people kissing, then it will more than likely affect our heart chakra. Maybe we'll either feel happy or we'll feel lonely. If we see people arguing, maybe it'll affect the solar plexus and it will make us feel helpless. If we see some people screaming at you, maybe it will affect your throat chakra. You'll feel oppressed or suppressed. If you're thinking about a new work project, maybe it will affect your sacral chakra. If you're seeing people make you love, the sacral chakra. If there's trust being talked about, it would be the root chakra. And they're like traffic lights. So when you're going towards someone you trust, it's like they flood you with particular sensations. The chakra system goes out of balance because of this seeking energy. So this identification with the body mind, the identification with thoughts, and this belief that pleasure, which is a total lie, is going to give you freedom. And then it's like the whole of the body sensory system and the chakras begin to believe in this lie. So if you're feeling heartbreak in your heart, then your mind is telling you that is your unhappiness and you've got to get rid of it. So there is a great repression of that energy, and that creates like excessive or depleted energies in the chakra, and it creates a stuckness. What also happens in a lot of humans, particularly men, is that there is a cutting off of the body. So the feelings and the emotions are too much to handle. So there is a cutting off, and there is just living in your mental interpretation of the body, and you don't actually feel that the actual body, like it's all the focus is up here. So you don't actually know your emotions and your responses. Okay, and this is where law of attraction comes in. So to me, you are going to be attracted to and repulsed by what your body is vibrating. So say if you, in your heart chakra, you seek for love and attention all the time, and you have a fear of being lonely, then what you'll be always doing is trying to hold on to people and get people's attention, and inevitably you'll be more interested in the people that you can't get, because you're more interested in saying seeking. And also your energy, when you seek to get love out of people, normally what it does is it repels people. So in a way it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So this trying to get love from people, trying to get attention from people, pushes people away. And more than likely what you'll attract is you'll attract people that cannot give you love anyway, because that's what you're interested in. You're interested in the game of trying to get love. You're not actually interested in actually getting love. It's the same with the throat chakra. If you feel like your voice has never been heard, and that you can't speak up, and that you don't know what you want, and that you can't vocalize it, then more than likely what you'll attract is you'll attract someone else that's very dominant vocally. So you can imagine like a very quiet person will attract a very dominant vocal person, and that dominant person won't be able to hear them, so you'll fulfill it. Say if you have like a really strong belief that you can do something, so this is a more positive one, this is not the seeking one so much, but if you have a really positive belief, so say if you're an artist and you just really trust your ability, you're not so scared about money or survival or like becoming really successful, you just really trust what you do, you see it as really beautiful, and there's a lot of love in what you do. And a lot of positivity and beauty. And when that chakra, the work chakra, so the sacral chakra, is in balance, it produces a lot of love. So when you're working and being creative, there is a lot of love, and there is not this contracted sense that you'll fail or that you can't do it or that it never works for you. There is more of an openness and expandedness, and it's not so much about getting money or being really successful. It's more a joy of creating. And to me, that energy is more than likely going to be successful over someone that is maybe better at art than them and got a bigger advertising campaign. And that's what law of attraction is to me. And to me, law of attraction maybe sounds a little dramatic or a little like it contains doership, but I don't actually see it as containing doership. I don't see it as somebody's doing. I see it as like a natural phenomena that happens, and it's exactly the same way. It's like the energetic programming of us as humans, and it's the same way in which the tree grows when it receives sunlight. And if it doesn't receive enough sunlight, then it won't carry on growing. And it's very impersonal, and it depends on the way that you've been conditioned. So yeah. So that's what it is to me, and I think it's really beautiful. And I think it's very unverbal, and it's almost like when you begin to let go of the sense of self, you drop into the body, and you're letting the body respond. And then when you take it a step further, when you really see who you are, so the body's responding, but then so the body's responding out of the different chakra points, and the thoughts is part of the chakras. It's not that we ignore thoughts. So when you're responding out of the body rather than out of this image of yourself and this image of who you need to be and this image of the seeker that's always trying to get, there's a dropping into the body. And in dropping into the body, you disappear, because there's actually no body. There is no body and there is no world. So there is no separation. So in a way, the impulse to create or the impulse to stay away from a particular character is the will of God. And that will of God is everything. And it's like this really orgasmic dance that's happening, that is mysterious and unknowable. And beautiful. And I don't believe there is a perfect way for a body to be. I believe that all bodies have their own particular and unique story, and there's always possibility to grow and to expand, and that every dynamic that's given to us, there's always the possibility to expand that. And to grow with that. So it's not like I see somebody as really rich, as mastering law of attraction and being enlightened, or somebody that's really famous as mastering law of attraction, because in the end, like what is the best life and what is the worst life? Like the Buddha was homeless and walked around begging for food, and I don't see that as him failing law of attraction. In law of attraction, I see that as the perfect circumstances for that particular body mind, and that's the perfect way. And being poor has no reflection on law of attraction, because I don't see wealth as better or anything as better. The important part is vibrating honestly and truthfully with your body and letting the bodies heal themselves, because every one of us have old conditionings, karmic conditionings from our family history, from ourselves, from our own life, from society, from conditioning. And it's like letting the body really vibrate and really trusting the innocence of this moment and letting this moment act, letting right now act rather than this idea of self act. So in a way you could say, like, coming back to the innocence of the chakras, where it's not about living up an image to you, it's like moving with the vibration of the chakras. When the chakras say no to something respecting that. It's not like, oh, you're not enlightened because you don't do this or you don't do that, or you are enlightened because you don't get angry about anything or you don't do this. It's respecting, and each chakra has particular feelings to them, and it's relevant to have both feelings. It's not about just having the positive feelings in the chakras the whole time. And in that, you disappear, and it's really vulnerable. It's like letting the body take over, and then knowing that that's nobody. That's this moment, letting God take over, giving the reins back to God, totally sinking into what's happening. So I've been thinking about politics because I'm back in the Brexit thing again. So just to let you know, I really think that's my karma, like all English people's karma currently. If you don't understand what's happening with Brexit, is that basically our kind of political system is kind of collapsing, and it's tipping to the verge of dictatorship. And that's not me scaremongering or being dramatic. Our government has insinuated that it's going to break law in order to do things, and as soon as a government breaks law, then it turns into a dictatorship. Or as soon as the government thinks it's above law. And it's super interesting what's happening, and what fascinates me the most about it, about Brexit. And now I would prefer to stay in the EU. I grew up being part of the EU, and I don't feel British, I feel European. I'd still be European, but we'll be outside of the EU, which means, like if you compare it to the US, like you have all these states in the US and you can travel freely and you can trade freely amongst the whole of the US. That's what the EU is like. So we can travel and we can live in every country, and we have the same social rights in every country. And we can transform all our documents, and eventually we can become citizen in any of these countries within the EU. And there's 27 states 28, I think, including us currently in the EU. And basically, it's so if you imagine America, because everyone knows America, it's basically like, say, California declaring its independence and then closing all the borders to all the other states, so it becomes separate from the United States. And then it says, no people, no trades, no goods can go freely over the border anymore. So you have to pay tariffs on the goods, you have to take tariffs on the business, and people can't, from Texas, they can't immigrate to California, and people from California can't immigrate to Texas. It's like becoming independent. We are an independent country, England, but it's kind of like that. Like at the moment, we're like a continent that trades within itself. And 3 years ago, Britain decided and voted to become independent, and the vote was very close. It was 52% to 48%, and nobody expected that. It was really shocking, but it was really close. And then obviously, what's happened in Parliament is that they haven't managed to pass any withdrawal agreements, and there's been a lot of clashing in the government, partly because the people were almost half and half. It was almost 50-50. It's the same with the government. So government can't really make any headway. And then we also have this other problem where Ireland is it's a little bit complicated, but there's this Irish problem where England but half of Ireland is part of the UK and half of Ireland is going to be part of the EU. And we made an agreement, I think 10 or 20 years ago, that we would never put a hard border up in Ireland again, because there was lots of war for many years. I'm sure lots of you know about it. I was brought up constantly being sent home from school or evacuated because of bomb threats. Like, it was really big thing. So we made this peace agreement, and we've had peace since, and the peace agreement is that we'll never put up a hard border again. But how do you stop, if we don't put up a hard border in Ireland, how do we stop people crossing the border or goods crossing the border? So if we put, how do we do that? And that was never brought up in the referendum. Like, how would we ever do Ireland when we've agreed never ever to put up a border on Ireland again? It's and everyone says give Ireland back. It's not that simple. Like Northern Ireland votes to stay with the UK, and it's not easy. It's a very difficult situation. So that's the Brexit story. It's very complex. And what's happening in England is we're getting very hard right government in, and we're also getting hard left government in. And so it's just a big clash. It's can't get anywhere. And 3 times this year we've been pushed, 2 times very heavily, but 3 times we've had this hard exit. So we've been threatened with a hard exit, which is very drastic for a lot of people. It's really not a nice scenario for a lot of people. It basically means that we would crash out of Europe, and then suddenly tariffs that were free, so goods that went across the border and were free, will suddenly be something like 40% tariffs. So it will bankrupt overnight a lot of like small to medium companies, and it will stop goods going over the borders and people. So someone like me, I suddenly have no rights. I live in France, and if it's a hard exit, there's no rights. France have said they will do certain things, like I'm allowed to carry on driving, and they say that I'll carry on getting my social security, but it's unknown like what happens with a hard exit, 'cause it's never happened before. So this has happened 3 times this year, and we're just about to do it again on the 31st. Even though government has ruled that it's against the law for our government to push for a hard exit, our government have said they're open basically to breaking the law, which then turns into dictatorship, which is then just, yeah. So that's not the part that I want to talk about, but I just had to explain that to you so people can understand what's happening with Brexit, because most probably you see it on the news and you don't understand what the big deal is or why it's happening. What's the interesting part is who votes for the hard right in England. So who votes for the hard right and who votes for Brexit? And it's the same in America, who votes for Trump. And what's happening at the moment, the people that are voting for the hard Brexit tend to be working class people. That's not all the people. There is also, it's like working class people, and there is also like older people that weren't born into the EU, so like my mum's generation. And there is some other people as well, not just working class. And people have got all types of reasons. Predominantly the reason is they want to have control back over laws. Certain things. So if you just take out this side of people and just let's focus on the working class. So the predominant people that are pushing for Brexit and wanting a hard exit as well are the working class people. So there is also other people and people that are very educated and know, and they really seriously think it will be the best for the UK to have a hard exit. And that's really valid, that's their opinion. But let's look at the working class. So the working class want to, predominantly when I watch interviews and when I do the research statistically, the working class want to stop immigration. And the reason that they want to stop immigration, I can imagine, and this is me imagining why they want to stop immigration, is because they feel hard done by. They feel like there aren't enough jobs out there, and they see immigrants coming into the country and taking the jobs, and they feel hard done by that. And they feel like they're getting a raw deal of it. And they feel if Brexit happens, then the immigrants will stop and there'll be more jobs for people in England. And that's an argument. The only problem that I would say with that argument is that with capitalism you always have to grow. So unless the English people start having lots and lots of kids, in order to keep up with economies, this is what different economies, we have to keep growing. Like the plan is, I suppose, in the future is, you know, when you see these sci-fi films and you see people like living at these massive cities and living like above each other and having roads in the air and lots of traffic, I presume that's what we're heading towards. Like capitalism only works if we continuously grow. So it means that if we shut off immigration, all immigration, we have to start breeding a lot more in order to keep our society big enough to sustain growth. So that's possible. But if we do a hard exit, for these people that are in working class, I suspect that it will be the worst for the working class people. And the reason that I suspect that is I suspect if we do a hard exit, it will go into recession. Also, if we do a hard exit, we're no longer protected by the EU workers' rights. And it means that our very hard right government that have publicly admitted they don't believe in social rights of the people, it means that that hard right government will totally take out unions and totally take out social rights and will cut down on benefits and the social care system and increase decrease regulations for companies, which some people could say if you do that, then you'll produce more work for the poorer people. But what the poorer people, the working class, are doing is they're actually voting out their protection in the belief that that will create more jobs for them. But I don't think they would see it like that. But if you look at what our government is, this very hard right government who openly admit, like one of the main cabinet members openly admits he does not believe in social rights of workers. And if we leave, we're not any longer protected by the EU's social rights, which is quite high. And so there is no longer protection for the majority of the people that wanted a hard exit and wanted to leave the EU. So why is it that people vote for this course of action and vote for hard right politics when you look at it, it actually makes them worse off? And it's the same in America, that you see that story again and again, and we could go into the politics, like I'm sure people are screaming that my politics is wrong, that people from working class backgrounds, poorer backgrounds, more vulnerable backgrounds vote for hard right rather than hard left or middle left, which the left is more interested in social rights and workers' rights. And that's really interesting to me psychologically. So this is my theory that I've come up for, and maybe I will be absolutely crucified for saying this. I'm not talking about the people that voted for different reasons. Like my dad, he's not alive anymore, but he voted to leave the EU, and his reason for voting to leave was that he didn't want to be ruled by the Germans. And that's like a totally different argument. Like this is for working class people, which is the predominant people that vote for Brexit. Like why do they do that, and why are they voting hard right at the moment? And this is where law of attraction comes in. And this is where, when you've been brought up in working class families, my mother's family is working class, and my dad's family was like middle upper class. So I had these two extremes. So I know both sides quite well, and I never really fitted into either of them. And I got educated in government schools, and I got educated in private schools. And so I know both sides of it. And my mother's family was from very poor working class, and I grew up also with my gran as well, who was so poor when she grew up, like the stories that she used to tell me. And so the working class mentality, so my mum's family, like when I look at the mentality and I look at the relatives, they grew up with a lot of scarcity and a lot of fear of money, like a lot of sense that things aren't fair. This might not always be conscious in their mentality, but you can see it in behaviors, and it's not all the time, it's not all cases, it's just overall. And I'm also talking about my mom's family, of what I know. It's a lot of fear of money, a lot of sense of injustice, a lot of putting down, so a lot of the confidence knocked, like feeling like they're not good enough or that they're lower than. And it's also a lot of anger, it tends to be, towards politics, towards the government, feeling unjust, feeling hard done by, a dislike of people that are born into money. So that was always a bit of a conflict. So there's two sides of the family for me. So if you're born into money, which I also know, my dad's side of the family, he was a dentist, and my dad grew up with a lot and went to a very posh boarding school. If you're brought up on that side, you expect to have money. And I know that mentality so well as well. You expect to have money, you expect to get a good job, you expect to do well. This is not always the case. I've also seen people that come from very rich families being really crushed by their parents as well. But there's an expectation, and it's not like a nasty expectation. It's just an assumption that money will be there. Like there's never, you're not focused on it when you're growing up. There's never been the case where you don't have money or that you don't do well. So there's like a different mentality that happens in you, and you have different issues. Maybe there's more of an issue with arrogance, but not an issue with lack or poverty, or not having enough. And this is where it comes in. So now what's happening in our society is this really weird shifts happening. So the people that tend to have grown up with more are tending to vote more centre towards left. And the reason that I think that is because they didn't feel lack. They're not so afraid of paying taxes, and they're not so there's like a different mentality. This isn't the older case, but my generation, and maybe a little bit older, I'm seeing a lot of centre towards the left. Whereas these people would be better to vote hard right, to keep the money in the family, to have low inheritance tax, to have low taxes, and to keep the money to yourself and keep it in the family. Whereas you see a lot more of these people, not all the time, but we're seeing a lot more now of these people being a lot more moderate and maybe a bit more towards the left. And then you're seeing the working class go more towards the right. And my theory is, this maybe is going to be shot, is that it's a mentality, like attracts like. They're keeping themselves victim. They think they're getting themselves out of that circumstancing by voting hard right, by getting rid of the immigrants. But the people that have the compassion to open the borders and to want to share and to want to cooperate and get on with other people and don't mind sharing are the ones that are also going to help the working class come up and come out of poverty. But they're shutting those people down, and they're going to people that are going to oppress them, which is fascinating. And that must be, in my mind, law of attraction. It must be. They've been grown up with it, and it's unconsciously they're calling towards themselves oppression. It's not a conscious thing, because if you think about it, if they side with the people that wants to they're doing such hard things with immigrants now, like if you have come from if you're a refugee and you've come to England and your kid is still stuck, say, in Greece, it's in the EU, but it's stuck in Greece. If we have a hard exit, then we're going to stop saying no kids are allowed in anymore. So if you've got to the UK, your kid's in Greece, or your kid is still in your home country, no longer can the kid come over and join you. We're closing all borders. And if you think of the working class, if you're voting in for people that are prepared to do that, you're also voting in people that are prepared to keep you in the shit, to be an impoverished worker, to be someone desperate for money and desperate to work, to do really shitty jobs with no social security. You're not voting for someone that's going to care for everybody in society. You're voting for somebody that's only going to care for people with power. And it's the same in the US. This same phenomena is happening as well. Is that the people that are worst affected by Donald Trump are voting for Donald Trump. It's really crazy. He is in power, and he is put in power by the people that he damages the most. And the people in the middle, the people that weren't grown up in poverty, tend to be more democratic. Not all the people. There's also people to extreme right that are very extremely rich, which is also like this very greedy mentality. That's a different mentality from somebody that's like upper middle class. I don't know if you have all these different things in different countries. Like in England, we used to have like lower working class, and you've got these different ways of talking about it. And I'm sure I talk about it on PC, but I just thought it was interesting to talk about like political law of attraction. Like for me, more than likely voting hard right because of my family. My parents did quite well. My mum she became a computer programmer from very poor, low working class. She managed to come up, and my dad did quite well. So more than likely, I would be better off voting and staying with more harder right. It would be better for me financially in the long run, but no way would my heart want to do that. I am definitely more for social rights of everybody, that everybody should have an opportunity. Let's just make sure this is all still streaming, like I talk away. Hey, Thomas says, just looking at Skype now. Haley, it's a very interesting topic. Hopefully the working class people will realise what's the better alternative for them. Hard exit seems like it'll be rough for you Brits. There won't be enough regular jobs anyways, as a continuous sustained growth is an illusion of capitalist system. Universal basic income seems the best way, seems to become a necessity at some point, especially with robots. It's very much a mindset. Law of attraction is a play here, no doubt. Yeah, it's like the end of immigrants, and then robots are going to come, and then there's going to be a big hatred towards robots. Hey, Jason. How could you have non-duality without duality? You believe the universe is emergent, but how could you be emergent? I just have to look up that word. Emergent. Coming into being, emergent, emerging, emergent. I am an emergent. Okay. You believe the universe is emergent, coming into being, but how could you be emergent? How could I be emergent? How could I be coming into being without the concept of non-emergency? Emergency. You can't be going someplace without coming from someplace. If you have no future, then you can't have a past, which means you can't experience and observe yourself from an infinite, finite perspective, pointless in place. The universe can't change. I would like to talk to you about non-duality because you seem to believe you can have a beginning without an end, and an end without a beginning, which is impossible. Intelligence can't exist. But a belief, because what would be intelligent of it, you never exist, which is the same as always existing. All our beliefs lie with us, within us, which means we can only recreate our perspective as perspection as is. I just get this feeling, Jason, like when you were talking, what happened in my body was there was like this shoot of energy that went up my body that was slightly painful, and it felt like underneath your question there was aggression, and there was like an energy of suppression, and it gave me like that shivers, you know, like when you want to, like, have you ever been with someone in a conversation where they really like try and dominate you, or really like try and talk over you or something? Not saying that's what you're doing, but like this suppressive energy in conversation, it makes you want to back off. I'm not saying that this is a true projection or that I'm right. It's just the response that I had in my body was, my response was this energy and this feeling like you're trying to squash me in some way. Like I feel like you have this question, and then underneath it you want something entirely different. And then you're asking this question and you want me to get involved in this question and in this particular debate, but there's something else underneath it. Yeah, and it just gives me the heebie-jeebies, like, there's aggression there or something. Yeah, so I think I would just pass on that question, and I really, I'm not saying that I'm right in my judgment. It's just the way my feeling, my response that came up. But thank you. Hi Lisa, hi Annika. A lot of seeing happened after I talked to you last time. I realized I have been like a fire gun during the conversation. I deeply thank you for being with this monkey mind. And after some time I found about and listened to Roger Kinsella, and I felt like a cold, refreshing shower. So I bow my heart to your sweet and wise presence. Hi Anka. I can't remember our last talk, Anka. Wednesday the 4th of July, 24th of July. I think it was quite a bit of a time ago. I think maybe I remember our conversation. You haven't got a picture of anything, so just a picture of, it's a very sweet picture of somebody watering, little clay character watering a flower. It's very sweet. Hi Lisa, I sometimes feel frustrated and anguish at injustice happening all around us, and sometimes happening to me personally. I try to remember your words that it's not me experiencing it, and it is life that is carrying it, but it still upsets me and I feel helpless. Any suggestions? It's a solar plexus issue, Praveen. Like so to you take that to be serious and you take it to be real. Whereas really what's happening is you have an instrument and you have your natural flow, your natural way of being that's completely unique to you, and your body has natural responses. And then you've got this identification, this idea of you, which has ideas, and then it's informed the body in certain ways of how you interpret things. So maybe when you were growing up, there was a lot of injustice happening, or a lot of arguing in the family, or a lot of things that you felt unfair about, and then an identity was built out of that, and then it sent the solar plexus into overdrive. And so now that you feel that injustice happening a lot, whereas actually if you look at your situation, you currently live in the richest country in the world. I mean, I know some people can argue that, but if we say it's like in the richest country, it's maybe not, I think it's the richest, but maybe it has debts, and maybe that's a hard thing to tell, or maybe some people would say it's China. But it's up there, it's pretty high, and a lot of people around the world would envy you for living in America. A lot of people would envy you for having kids. A lot of people would envy you for having like not a basic job, but a job that provides a good amount of money. There's lots of things that would make you most likely in the top 5% of society. So whatever injustice your mind is telling you, it's only relevant to your interpretation of this world, because in comparison to the other 7 billion people on this planet, and most of the people, so maybe like 5 or 6 billion people on this planet, you have a lot of justice. Isn't that really difficult for us to comprehend, like when we live in a Europe or America, Australia, that just by living here and not being like on benefits, like having a job that provides like over 24,000 a year, you're doing really well. The injustice that in the frustration that you're feeling is mind-made. It's an identity. It's these ideas of what you think you should be, and then what you have been, the way you think people should treat you, and then what's actually really happened. And it's all to do with the solar plexus. So the feeling actually comes from the solar plexus. So it's not only like examining your thoughts and what you're actually interpreting situations to be, it's also learning about the solar plexus and learning what you feel and what you don't feel in the solar plexus. And then at the same time seeing that none of that is ever you. At the moment you're identified with the solar plexus, you're identified with your thoughts, and you believe that's you, and that's what makes them so intense and so real and feel so exhausting and so heavy, like a pushing down, like a squashing, like it makes you feel small. But while that seeking is really intense, it's too hard to hear that who you are is no thing, is not a thing looking out now, that there isn't anything looking out. There's life appearing as itself. And that life is free. Right here, right now. So your mind keeps identifying, like holding on energetically to the solar plexus, to that feeling of frustration. And then there's this belief that it's happening to you, that you have this image in which all of this is happening to, whereas really there is simply this moment, right here, right now. This alive presence. So this is it. And then the mind goes off. The mind is like talking about the injustice. The solar plexus is burning, so it keeps the mind keep going. And then here you are, right now, this innocence looking out. If that's too much to hear, like if the mind can't even begin to sense this presence that's happening right now, then you can look at the frustration, you can look at the thoughts, and you can examine it, and you can explore it. You can do chakra meditations, you can do chakra exercises, qigong. You can do things to help release that feeling. Hi, Diego, Little Prince. That's the end of the questions. So if anyone else has any questions, you can write it. Hi Anu. Hello Lisa, nice to see and hear you again. Love you. Love you, Anu. There's just no more questions. I just sit and wait until someone writes a question. Hey Claudia. Lisa, last time you said you have also been in narcissistic relationships. How did you get out of them? When you still feel love, you have to force yourself to go away, or does the love stop when you realize the abusive behavior? I'm sorry, but this issue has a hook on me, and I try to find out how to end this circle of love and abuse. Thank you. Discovering lies. And the confrontation of that, and the confrontation of that created the end of the relationship, confrontation of the lies. To me, it's being honest in relationships. Like, I can't always say that I'm always honest in relationships. Like, I try my best, but honesty is really important in relationships, and I can't help it, but I break it down if I discover that that's not there. Yeah, it is really hard, especially if you've been traumatized in the past, because we're often attracted to that which traumatizes us. Like, as I was talking about the law of attraction with politics, like, we're attracted to that which traumatizes us. And then often with narcissistic people, like, then they come back and they offer you the world, so then it sort of feels like it's healing that wound. And then they do their stuff again. So they often come back and love bomb you, and then that insecurity or that wound feels healed, and then there's attraction, and then they go again. I think it's really coming into your solar plexus. Like, if we take it out of what I did, but if you come into your solar plexus and really identifying what it is that you want. Like, people that are narcissists love people with weak solar plexus. So the solar plexus is mostly about, like, not mostly, but part of it is about wants, like what it is you want and what it is you don't want, and knowing what it is you want. And a narcissistic person loves someone that doesn't really know what they want and has very loose wants, because then it means that they can push their wants onto that person. And sometimes it can just be the type of person you are, that you're very flexible, but sometimes it's also having a weak solar plexus, and then when you grew up, your wants and your desires weren't appreciated by your family, so you never put much effort into that. And if you really begin to put effort into looking at the solar plexus and seeing what it is that you want from a relationship, and you begin to vibrate at that level, I feel that's the way in which you'll get out of it. Like, what is it that you want from a partner? So let me give you some suggestions of what you want. Like, you want someone that's trustworthy. You want someone that supports you, that loves you, that's open, that's prepared to look at difficult dynamics, that you're sexually attracted to make you feel good. I begin to list it off and, like, really focus on it, like, write it down and focus on it. And after your interactions, you can be really in presence and so much love with them. But then afterwards, like, look at the list, and rather than looking at them abusing you, looking at it are you being satisfied? Are you getting what you want? And if not, then what is it that you do want? And then keep focusing on that. And the more that vibration picks up, the more that things will. Wants aren't the devil. Seeking is what separates you from life, and seeking what creates suffering, but not wants. Wants is the way that God is moving your body. Wants is the messenger of God, you could say, your natural wants. It's the way that life is moving you, and it actually makes you feel really fantastic when you acknowledge what it is that you want and what it is you don't want. The vibration in your chakras, like, really glows when you acknowledge it. And then when you start talking about how abusive they are, then it really goes into darkness, and then that darkness is what you attract. If you put it into that positive vibration, that's what you'll attract and go towards. Don't know if that helps. Thanks, Claudia, for your question. Hi, Praveen. You said that you had experienced before you had this big energy shift. Did such experiences encourage you to continue seeking? I would love to have some encouragement of that kind, only because your solar plexus is weak. Praveen, or excessive. Can't you see that that question is just another solar plexus, an identity question? So what comes up is that you're a victim to not having any of these shifts, and I've had these shifts, and that you need encouragement because you've got this path in which you're traveling along and you need to get somewhere. See, it's all this idea, it's all this related to you. You're not coming back to what you're actually feeling now. You're living in this idea timeline of you. So what you feel now is you feel vulnerable. And that vulnerability is then making you coming up with a story that's saying, I would love to have these experiences to encourage me. And what you feel now is vulnerable. You feel low self-esteem. You feel unconfident. Just acknowledging that, being honest to what you're feeling rather than beginning to tell stories of you and buy into this image of yourself. So if you feel like vulnerable and you feel like you're failing, like you're not getting there, then what is it that you want? So in that chakra, you first of all acknowledge it. And what is it that you want? You want to feel safe. You want to feel appreciated. You want to feel loved. You want to feel like you can do it. And then it's just knowing you can do it. You are loved. You are appreciated. It's not then buying into the story of you trying to get to enlightenment. It's fixing your chakra where you are. Thank you for your question. Hi, Joanna. Hi, Lisa. Joanna here. Hey, Joanna. Have sunny Vancouver morning. I'm just wanting to say hi and send my love to you. All is well. I hope you are too. And Andrea Sankalisi. Thanks, Joanna. Yeah, we're all very well. I hope you got my email thanking you for your letter and your gift. I never heard back from you, so I wasn't convinced you got the email. Maybe I sent it to the wrong Joanna. But yeah, that was so sweet finding that in my bag afterwards. That was really lovely. Thank you. But yes, good morning to Vancouver. There is strong doubt about the possibility being free, enlightenment. Enlightenment is simply an idea in which an image of you, so there's this image of you in your head and this idea that you're going to get enlightened. And that's an idea that comes up. And really what's happening is your chakras are out of balance, and then it creates ideas of you doubting that you can get to enlightenment. So in your body is feeling doubt. So that could be in the heart, it could be in the solar plexus, it could be, but let's just go, for example, the heart. You feel like you're not good enough. And so then in your mind, you begin to think there is a me, and you've got this image, this picture in your head of who you are that's not going to get to enlightenment, and that's not true. All that exists is what's here. The image of you was only invented in order to be able to communicate complex concepts. It's not who you are. There isn't this person that could get to enlightenment. There is right now. There is this emptiness looking out, this spaciousness, this vastness. That's not a thing. And then in your heart, there's a vulnerability, and then your mind really takes that vulnerability seriously. It's just sensation. And it's sensation because of a story that you've told yourself many times that you're not worthy. I'm just giving an example. It might not be the heart, it might be a different chakra. But it's something that you've told yourself many times. I can't get to enlightenment. I can't pass my school's tests. I can't be a good enough mother. I can't be a good enough wife. I can't be as good as my friends. I can't make it to do this. I can't make it to do that. I can't. But who is this I that can't? It's all fabricated in your mind, and then there's a belief in it, and then this feeling's taken seriously, and then this actual belief in it that it's true gives it validity and keeps that feeling present. It keeps you imagining that you failed, and then keeps that heart in ache, rather than it's just sensation appearing. The heart is just in vulnerability and lack and a feeling that it's got nothing to give. So it's acknowledging that feeling, like really letting it be there, And then when you're ready, you can move it to the positive. I am loved, I am capable. That's the positive of that chakra. That's not an I, that's not actually meaning someone, it's just picking that chakra up again, like coming out of that dark feeling. But at the end of the day, who is this I that can or cannot get to enlightenment? Who? There's nobody there. Everything that you know about yourself is imagined and isn't fact. It's an idea and it's an image appearing, but there's something here that's always been here. You've always had your presence, and that's vibrating, it's free, it's infinite, it's not contained. It's not a failure or good or bad or successful, it's nothing. And in being nothing, it's absolutely free of the miseries of this world, of the difficulties of the human. And it's this shift back to that that's the freedom, knowing that that's who you are. Look at this beautiful girl. Doggy, 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 dog. You beautiful girlie, eh? Yeah. Ignorance. You're ignoring, Mama. Ookie, ookie, ookie. No. She's 7 now. The baby talk doesn't work so well, considering that she's something like 49. 7 times 7 is, what is that, 49? I can't do my maths. So she's older than me now, so trying to do the baby talk, she's like, yeah, fuck off, Lisa. I'm going to start doing that to you, all right? Soon I'm going to be 80. Another 3 or 4 years, 5, 6 years. Oh God, I used to be good at maths, but not now. I can't remember my 7 times table. Hi, Carmela. Waves of loves and gratitude to you. And to you, Carmela. Do you still have your short hair? Oh yeah, you do. It looks so beautiful on you. It really does. That's a lovely picture. Hi, Fabrizio. Hello, Lisa. Is apathy a solar plexus issue? It sure is. It sure is. But just know it's a sensation and feeling. But who is the person with apathy? See that there's nobody with apathy. So it's a feeling that comes from a story that you've repetitively told yourself, or society has told you, like you're hopeless, you're a failure, you can't do it. And then you have an image of somebody that is a failure, and it's absolutely not true. There is nobody in there that's a failure. You are not a failure. I like your theory. Hey, Marcus. Hey, Ines. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for this perspective on the wants. Having been talked out of my wants since childhood and in my adult life in a spiritual context, I found it extremely useful. Much love. Great talk. Hi, Ines. Yeah, in the spiritual context as well, you get talked out of your wants. And wants are actually like somebody with wants. There is somebody that doesn't get, but in the moment there is want appearing. And that's the way this body navigates. Normally what's happening is people are navigating through this image of who they have to be. And that's the lie. You don't have to be anything. Just yourself, just coming back to yourself, which is nobody. So coming back to yourself is dropping into the body, and then when you drop into the body, you realize there is no body, there is only life happening. But having said that, I need to go to the toilet suddenly. Excuse me. Hello, I'm back. Hey Glenn. We are out of questions again. Hi Lisa, after doing some ayahuasca 5 years ago, I felt terribly tired. I barely have enough energy to get out of bed at about lunchtime, take a shower and go on grocery shopping in the evening. In other words, I feel like a 100-year-old man. I'm about your age. What could you recommend? I've never heard that experience after ayahuasca before. So I don't know what to recommend after ayahuasca. For low energy, I can talk about it in terms of non-duality, that constructing a sense of self takes a lot of energy, like constantly having this image in your head of who you are. And living up to that idea of yourself, this constant repetitive story creates a lot of weight in the body. It could be that ayahuasca released something of that. It could be that ayahuasca had some other physical effect on you, that you could go for tests and see if there's any physical effect that happened. But it's incredibly heavy being you, because it's an absolute lie. Who are you? There is sensation appearing in this moment. There is thinking, there is feelings appearing. And what happens is that people then create this image of themselves, this idea of themselves, and they're trying to always live up to this idea of themselves, this idea of what they want in time, rather than their natural wants in this moment, what they need in time, what they have to be. Like constantly me, and there is no you. It's all fabricated. There is this instant happening, and this body is so intelligent. It knows what it wants. It knows what to do. And it's not that you have to stop thinking. Thinking happens. It's this identification with this image that then thinks, I think, I choose. There is no thinker. There is no chooser. There is only life happening freely, extraordinarily, exquisitely. So it could be that when you did ayahuasca, it awoke something in you, and then it's just the exhaustion of like lifetimes of being someone. Still have short hair. Oh, that's a very sweet picture of you both. You both look lovely. What a lovely dress on you have. It's funny, when I had short hair, shaved head, it really didn't suit me. It really suits you. I look too aggressive. You don't look, it looks very subtle on you, but it looks so aggressive on me. I'll keep going quiet because there's no questions. I'm happy to also sit here. You said that there is no thinker and there is no chooser, but we constantly have to make decisions and think to lead our lives. So then who is making those decisions and choices? And that's the really amazing question. Who is making those choices and decisions? And then it's seeing thinking happens, feelings happen, but there is nobody that's making the thoughts and the choices. There is an image that you keep producing, which is claiming to do that. But notice there is something that sees that and knows that. There is something that knows that person. So there is this image of a person and you think that's you, but notice there is consciousness of it. It's an experience. That person, that image of you that you're living up to, that you think is making a choice, is being experienced. It's not the experiencer. Something you see cannot be the experiencer. Something you know as form cannot be the experiencer. But we're constantly hooked in this idea that's me and that person chooses. Whereas if you come back to this moment, you'll notice that thoughts around choice are appearing from nowhere. They're not appearing from a limited self. They're appearing from an undefinable space. And then in that, also what appears is this idea that says, I chose that. I've got to make choices. And it's this idea that you are the chooser, that you're the doer, that you are somebody that creates such suffering in your life, because then everything is your responsibility, and everything has so much responsibility. Did I just say that twice? Or sometimes I'm boop. I might have just said that twice. When you're speaking to somebody, like it just comes out. You don't always know what you're saying. Yeah. Obviously. So sometimes, like I then can vaguely remember what I've said and then realise that it's not been making sense, or I've repeated things a few times. But basically, what I'm trying to say to you is that this idea of self is what creates all suffering. This idea that you are this image in your head, and that it's your responsibility to make enough money, to do enough things, to keep your wife, to get a new wife, or whatever it is, to look after the children. And that's too much responsibility to take on board. It sends our society into absolute meltdown. Like, most people are taking antidepressants because they can't deal with the stress of life. We do have a very fast-paced life, but it's also that this fast-paced life has been created by this sense of self and this seeking energy. So it's actually, our fast-paced life is a reflection of society's mentality. Like, one, it's not the other way around. So it's seeing that there is nobody there. Decisions are happening, actions happening, and you will or won't do things, and they will or won't work out. It's not your choice. Who is this you that always thinks it has choice? Who? Thanks for your question. Listening talks of different teachers, there's so many different perspectives, and for the mind it is so confusing, and it can often bring the silent point to silent point at the end. It's only confusing if you want to be confused. If you don't want to be confused, then you'll just listen to one teacher, or you'll not take any of the teachers too seriously. That confusion can only happen because it's already there inside of you. And confusion happens because you predominantly listen too much to what you think. And that really what's being pointed to is something beyond what you think. On the thinking level, everything can be right and wrong, actually. So if somebody says something completely opposite, like you have to do this to get into enlightenment, like, that's just words appearing, and then me saying there is nobody that comes to enlightenment, it's just the words. But what's the relevant point is that who is experiencing that? Who knows that? Who are you? This idea of somebody that needs to do something to get to enlightenment, or needs not to do something to get into enlightenment. And all the time, it's all appearing in this moment. It's all appearing in presence. Who are you? Who? Love to you, Lisa. I'm so grateful for your presence. Thank you so much again and again. Hi, Etya. With pleasure, Etya. Hi, Fabrizio. To ask myself who has experienced all of this sometime of this seems quite meaningless. Of course it's meaningless because the answer isn't in meaning. So of course it's meaningless. The mind that's like zzz, trying to find the answer will never find the answer because it's not in appearances. So of course it's meaningless. There is no doubt about it, and nonetheless the apathy is there. It's a deep feeling without story, actually. Do you think I can ask questions to the solar plexus, like establishing a relationship with it and knowing what is this apathy about? Yeah, sure. Yeah, like going into the body, and you'll feel it when it's a vibration, when you say the right vibration of the solar plexus. Are you angry? And you'll feel like, it will feel right, like yes, no. Hi Lisa, only found your site this week, so very new to this. Hi Nige.
Nige.
Yeah, Nige. Hi Nige. Hi Lisa. Please can I ask what is the key thing that will trigger the shift to get the clarity, to fully appreciate and to be pure conscious awareness rather than just understanding it? Does it require study, long who am I meditation, satsang, retreats? Can it just be seen? Thanks, Nige. Who is it that's going to see it? Who is this person that you're convinced is going to see it? So you've got this idea of this person that has this whole mission of waking up now. And then you've got this idea of retreats and meditation. Retreats and meditation will happen, but you've got this idea that you as a person, as an entity, that's an imagination inside your brain and then a feeling in the body, has to do all of this to arrive at enlightenment. But who becomes enlightened? Who is this you? Who let the dogs out? It gives this feeling that there's somebody there. Like we have these chakra feelings, so we have feelings in our body, and then we have thoughts appearing, and then we have this image in our head, and then we have this idea that all of that belongs to me, and I'm this image, and I'm moving through time. I've come from the past, I came from something in the past, and I'm moving to the future, and I am going to get enlightened. I'm now going to get enlightened, and that's who I am. And while you believe that's who you are, while there's identification with that person, your life will always be frustrated because it's a lie, and you're not actually paying attention to what's happening inside your body. You're trying to be something that you're not. What's actually happening now? Where does that question come from? But where in your body does that question come from? You think the question comes from your mind, but it comes up into the mind because there's somewhere in the body that's uncomfortable. So there's some part of your body that is not comfortable with what's happening, otherwise you wouldn't have a question. So there's some part of your chakra system that's uncomfortable, and then the thought bubbles up in your mind, I am incomplete. So you've got an image of you that's incomplete, and I need to get somewhere. And really it's a sensation appearing in the body. So there is this tightness, this feeling of not being loved, and then this seeking. So this seeking manifests of, I now, in order to be loved, I need to get enlightened, or my life is meaningless, which would be solar plexus. And now to find meaning, so it bubbles up as a thought, I need to get enlightened. And then there's an image of you that needs to get enlightened. And in that story of you becoming enlightened, then it can fulfill the solar plexus to an extent. There can be moments where you feel more meaningless, where you feel more hopeful, but then you will drop into the other side of it as well. And you'll never actually arrive because you're living a lie. That image of you that you have inside your mind, that you believe came and sat and is watching me and found me last week and is going into the future, doesn't actually exist. That's not you. Okay, I'm going to go in a moment, so if you've got any more last questions, then ask them now. As we come to the end. So it's all about how healthy chakras and how to deal with them. No, the absolute suffering is this identification with this image that's always going in time. That's the suffering. But when you're identified with that image, then you look to the body and see what's going on. It's not if you suddenly align all your chakras that you're going to wake up. Waking up is the disidentification with the body-mind, including the chakras. The end of identifying with it. Especially the lower ones, I feel huge pain there and contraction. Yeah, so while you feel huge pain there, it's because you've got unconscious thoughts going on, and then what will happen in your mind is your image of self will always be trying to avoid that discomfort. So lower chakra would be trust, rootedness, groundedness to the earth, that's the root chakra. And then the sacral chakra is about work and creativity and sexuality. So where you've got problems there, they will be tightly contracted, and then you've got this image of yourself, and the image of the self will be trying to seek to avoid those feelings. So maybe you have like excessive porn addiction if it's the sacral chakra, or you have a numbness there, or no sexuality, or lack of sexuality, or you have an inability to maintain a job, an inability to find work, an inability to be creative, or maybe there's too much work, too much creativity, too much focus on money. And then in the grounded one is like lack of trust, lack of being grounded. Your energy might be too much up in thinking, not enough trust. But it's not that you've got to have them balanced. It's that when they're really tightly contracted, and if you believe you are someone, then what happens is that pain in the body gets interpreted to you, and then you seek to find the resolution to it. You seek to avoid not trusting. You seek to avoid not trusting this world. And then actually what you do is you bring that into yourself through you're focusing on it, and what you'll actually bring is distrust in your world. You'll see distrust everywhere. Just like if you shut your eyes and you keep focusing on the color blue, you'll see blue everywhere. Just wanted to say thank you. It's a pleasure, Praveen. It's a pleasure. Hello, dear Lisa. Because there is total resignation here with all you say and feel, do you think that having no question for you is a good place to be? Just being present in the moment feels so natural and at ease. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. Like this is it right now. And what can also happen in these talks is a resonance with something that's so much deeper than words. Like, so you're not taking the words so seriously, and there's just a tuning in and the music on this other energy, this resonance. I seek to change. So that's the solar plexus. I seek to change. The feeling or thought wanting to get enlightened is still strongly present. So who is this person that wants to get enlightened? And where is it in your body you feel that? Because in order to want to be somebody that gets enlightened, there's something in you that feels lack, that feels not enough. Where is it? What is that lack story about the world and about yourself? And where do you feel that in the body? And explore that and investigate that. And see it for what it is, that it's not true, that feeling doesn't equal a you that has lack. It's simply a feeling, a conditioned feeling that you've picked up, and it's making it feel like a real experience, like there's somebody there that has lack, and there's somebody there that needs to become something better than what they are. Just notice all of that. I love your beautiful window views. Yeah, it's really beautiful this time of year here. Very green. And we painted the balcony this year, this white colour and orange colour. So it's also giving it like very beautiful colour in the evening. Like this orangey colour. So it's actually white, but the walls are orange. It looks very nice. There was this nasty brown colour when I moved in, and black. It was so dark. I was so naive when I bought this house. And I think it's really sweet, but I didn't realise the amount of work that goes into renovating a house. And I was like, yeah, just a bit of paint. I didn't realise how much work that was. And it's good that I did that, because I wouldn't have bought it if I did know. And it's a really beautiful house, but it was so run down. Derek, hey Derek. So happy to hear you emphasising the importance of disidentification with the mind and the concept of self. Yes. Okay guys, well that's enough for this evening. I will be back again on Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. I wish you a beautiful week, and thank you for sharing and being so open. And remember to like the video if you like it. If you want Google to share it, that's the important part. Thanks guys. Bye.